Hey, what's good guys? This is Nightwing2303 from WearTesters.com. Today we got the performance review on these guys right here. This is the Adidas D Rose 8, and with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright guys, so the traction on these is not as good as the D Rose 6 or the D Rose 7. Those two, in my opinion, are some of the best that the D Rose line had offered. And while these guys were okay, they just weren't quite as good as those. What we have here is a translucent outsole. I do believe that there are solid rubber outsole versions as well, but I don't think that the rubber compound was actually the culprit here. This time around, I actually think that this was a pattern issue. This pattern right here, while it is aggressive, it's all flat. There's not really any peaks or anything like that. So if these would have been sharp little nubs instead of flat little nubs, I think that would have worked out so much better. It would have had that track spike kind of cleated look to it, and I feel like that would have caused a lot more friction on the basketball court. And while these guys, like I said, they weren't like horrible or anything like that, they just didn't grip the way that the past two models had, and those two just were excellent. On perfectly clean courts, obviously traction was a non-issue. These guys performed really well. On moderately dusty courts, you needed to wipe quite often, and then on just dirty courts or courts that need to be refinished, it was pretty much slip city. I was slipping all over the place, whether I was wiping or not. The traction in certain areas is starting to fray off as well, so I probably would not wear these outdoors for a long period of time, at least not if you're expecting them to last a long time. But I do feel that the rest of the shoe is actually built like a great outdoor sneaker. Now the cushion on these guys is the exact same slab of boost that they used on the Crazy Light 2016, and personally I feel that this is probably my favorite setup. It's firm enough in areas like the forefoot for me, while still offering plenty of impact protection throughout. Boost is just like super absorbent. Like there's no other way to describe the material. A lot of people will correlate Boost with bounce, like the actual like bounce feeling, and while that is true in some instances, just because it depends on the type of kind of boost midsole that they're giving you. This guy right here has a ton of boost pellets involved, so they don't feel like they're super bouncy, and so they feel like they're a little bit more dense. And when you have that, you get a lot more impact protection and also a lot more responsiveness. So in the forefoot here, it's a lot firmer than it would be, say, in the heel. And then they've also caged it with this little lateral outrigger right here, and this I just think is fantastic. It works really well. It still allows plenty of mobility, plenty of flexibility, but it offers enough containment to where you're not going to be rolling over the footbed whatsoever due to any instability of the boost. The cushion is definitely the shoe's best feature, with support being right behind. Now the materials are not my favorite. These guys are probably the worst material options that I've seen on a basketball shoe this year, besides the Nike Kobe AD Mid. Not to say that it doesn't work. This shoe actually works really well on court. The materials as well, so you can't knock it too bad. It's just this is from like 2011 and we're like in 2017, so I'm just not a huge fan of it. But what they do offer is a free-flowing forefoot. It's just basically mesh with some foam backing, and you have some fuse overlays in high wear areas of the toe, and then from here back it's pretty much all fuse everything. There is some mesh involved, but it's not anything significant. It's mostly fuse, and the entire shoe starts off really stiff. But like I said, that free-flowing forefoot breaks in almost immediately. Meanwhile, the rest of the shoe breaks in pretty quickly after that, and again, it all works, so I can't knock on it or anything. It's just, to me, this doesn't feel like a today's shoe. This feels like a shoe that should have been out like 10 years ago. As far as fit, Adidas's sizing is always tricky. Sometimes they fit small, most of the time they fit long. These guys are right at that point to where they feel like they're a tad bit long, but the way that the heel is sculpted, I don't think I'd be able to go down half a size, so I went true to size. True to size has worked out best for me. Of course, if it's possible, try them on yourself just to make sure. There is a little bit of extra length right here in the toe, so if you're a super narrow footer, I think that going down half a size would be an adequate option. And then if you're a wide footer, I would probably just stick with my true size, especially because the forefoot area here with that really free-flowing mesh, it feels like there's a ton of dead space above your toe. The material does not sit on your foot nicely, so I think that a wide footer will be able to fill that up quite a bit. Other than that, I think that the fit was actually fantastic. This back section right here, along with the lacing structure, worked really nicely. Like I said earlier, in the material section, everything starts off really stiff, but it breaks in pretty quickly. And this section right here actually felt like wearing an ankle brace. Like it felt like the shoe itself was an ankle brace, and that's not a bad thing. That actually means that this area was very supportive, which I think is pretty good. Now I want to emphasize support, not restriction. So I did not feel restricted in the shoe. I just felt very supportive in the shoe. And then speaking of support, we have an external TPU heel counter right here at the base. This actually helps keep your foot on the footbed in the heel. That is what ankle support is. It's not the collar height. You can achieve that in any shoe, whether it's a mid, high, or low. And then you have all this really stiff, rigid material here with this interesting sculpt right there in the back. And that's supposed to really cover your ankle area while drawing it all all into the back or rear of that TPU footbed right there. And for what it's designed for, it works really, really well. The bottom of the shoe is nice and flat, very stable. You got that torsional plate right there as well. They're caging the boost in the forefoot along with a beefier outrigger. So this area right here, while it does not extend a ton, it is extended a little bit so your foot sits within that, just giving you a slightly wider stable base right here in the forefoot, which is enhancing your overall stability. All right guys, so that pretty much takes care of it for the performance review on the D-Rose 8. It's a very solid shoe. It's just not quite as solid as the D-Rose 6 or 7, at least not in my opinion. My main complaint is just the traction. I think that the traction was just a little bit better. I think that it would have been a much better overall shoe, but everything above the traction worked really, really well. I'm still holding out hope that there's going to be a prime net option. Keeping my fingers crossed, you never know. And if you are interested in grabbing a pair of these, I will leave a link in the description box below. It'll head you over to eastbay.com where you can grab a pair. And if you needed any more information, there's going to be another link in the description box where it'll head you over to WearTesters.com. You'll be able to find a little bit more detailed information along with their scorecard listing their price, their weight, and their scores. And that pretty much covers it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for your support. Let me know what you guys think about the D-Rose 8. Have you played in a pair? If so, what do you think about them? Leave your comments down below in the comment section. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button if this video helped you out. Subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, have a good one.